Tommy,
Hello, Bob. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome, awesome.
Just
Well, while we're waiting on people, I was thinking about our conversation earlier, and I wanted to just kind of go over one of our services that is part of our consulting program, but can also be just mentioned separately, which is our Resilience Pro. I thought this is a hot topic right now. mental mental resilience, um, bouncing back from mental stress. How do we help our employees when they get anxiety or depression or just unable to handle all the pressures that are on them?
I think
And
that's
so,
been an even bigger issue ever since COVID, with a lot of change in the workspace. We either having to work from home, and then you have things at home to deal with, and wondering about what's going on at the office where you should be probably normally, and just a lot of change that have impacted people. And I think that's escalated the need for some attention in the mental health area.
yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about this because my son, who's 22 in Portland, Oregon, he called me and he comes from an Asian background. My ex-husband's Asian. And in that you just suck it up. You
Hmm.
just, and his grandpa was part of Vietnam War, and for him, the things that are happening in modern day society is no big deal. And that's kind of the era you and I kind of grew up in too. Like if fall down, just get back up.
Right.
But we never had all these things, all this information and things being thrown at us at many different directions. And we also never really had anyone talk to us about what is mental therapists and coaching for. So I think one of the aha moments I had on Resilience Pro was that let's first of all talk about traditional mental programs. So there's a lot of them out there. Are you familiar with any of them when you were dealing with the when you were dealing with the insurance end?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few options out there that most of the big insurance companies have some sort of approach for dealing with mental health, counseling or navigation to where they can get the right resources.
Yeah, so just do you know what a couple of them are based on? Are they based on being able to contact them anytime? Are they based on the HR person has to give a, a referral? What are some of the
Well,
resources or some of the
for
programs?
example, on my former employer, we in our insurance card, I believe, as I recall, we had a number we could call, a nurse line, and get immediate 24/7 attention if we need any mental health assistance.
Yeah, and my mom's card, she can do that too, but she's limited 10 sessions. And I think it's 10 sessions in a 6 month period. And so when it have you heard of something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure every insurance company or plan has some limits for how much you can use before you have to start paying out of pocket. And
Yeah.
and probably most you pay out of pocket until you reach your deductible, and then you're probably doing a copay. And so even then you're still paying toward the benefit or to receive the benefit. But then eventually you run out of benefit and then you have to pay.
Yeah,
That's kind of
absolutely.
normally, I think, how it's set up.
Yeah, that's how it's normally set up. And so with that, when do we feel like we need to use it? When we're already we can't take any more. And we realize that we've either got to check ourselves in or we've got to talk to somebody, right? Would you say I mean, that's what I thought therapy was. I thought therapy was when you no longer could handle it yourself. Maybe I'm the only one.
Well, I think there's a bit of a stigma attached to this issue,
Mhm.
and I think people are reluctant to reach out until it gets bad enough that they feel they have to, and even then, there's some denial about, you know, needing that help, and probably family members or friends are probably more um, more likely to say to someone that they need help than the person is to say they need help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things when I first met Daryl that kind of was an aha moment for me was, why do we wait? Yes, there's the stigma of it, but why do we wait until we absolutely need somebody? Why aren't we talking to somebody on a preventative measure? And that makes a lot of sense to me because we do that for everything else. Like if I eat what my body needs right now, then that is a preventative measure for a year from now. But if I'm already not healthy and then I start eating right, I'm still not healthy. I will get healthier over time, but it's much easier to eat right and to feed your body right on a preventative measure. And that's the same thing through talking to somebody. And I find it fascinating that I never really thought of it that way. But who are some of the different therapists that we have on a daily basis? Bartenders, hairdressers, your buddy as you go on a hike, your wife or your spouse, your wife or husband, your best friend. But what happens when you don't feel like you can talk to those people and you need somebody that you can just talk to? This is where the bartender comes in, but we wouldn't encourage anybody to go to the bartender every day, right? You need somebody to talk to on a regular basis that can't judge you from your daily life. And I'll give you an example. We had an employer that uses this Resilience Pro, and one of his employees had his wife had cancer. And so he couldn't talk to anybody around him because everybody is concerned about the wife and what she's going through and what she was dealing with medically. And so he was talking to our Resilience Pro team on a regular basis when all of a sudden, and maybe some of you guys have heard me tell this story or not, but this is a prime example. All of a sudden, he got robbed on a subway station, and he is up for a promotion at work, and he's dealing with cancer at home. He's dealing with all the pressures of the medical bills and things that are happening with that. And then all of a sudden he gets robbed on a subway. When we went to do our survey to find out what did he like most about this program, he said, I know the only reason why I got the promotion and still didn't miss a beat at work was because I was already talking to somebody. I was already getting those feelings out. And so when this next horrific thing happened to me, I talked to that same person, and it was like I was just talking to my friend, but I also knew I would never be judged.
That's awesome.
So that's where I get really excited about this. And I just want our SPs to know, like, hey, if your CEOs aren't ready to hear about Premier Alignment Consulting Group, but they're ready to hear about one of our other services like Resilience Pro, just know that we can take care of them in a small bite piece service right now. And Resilience Pro, I just want to point out, is amazing because it is based on preventative. You have a coach that you talk to on a daily basis who is trained and certified to recognize more severe mental issues and can refer you over to a psychiatrist and a certified psychiatrist or an MD a PhD psychiatrist if you need it. And it goes to your HR department as, hey, 10 people out of your whole company use this, or 2 people out of your whole company use this, as far as went to the psychiatrist or needed upper level help, but it does not say who. So all of a sudden it takes the stigma off your employees. Anybody can call the number, anybody can talk to their coach. And as a group, as an employer with the employers who have this, they just require all their employees to work with a coach. And so there's no stigma there either, where you have to go to the HR department, get the number, because you're already connected with your coach and it's your coach that can refer you over. So I think this is a really amazing service. I never really thought of doing preventative on mental health, but to circle back around when my son called me and said, hey, Mom, I think I need to talk to somebody outside of you and Dad. Like, you and Dad are great, but you've been so good to me. that I almost feel guilty that I have to follow your advice. And I don't know if that's the best advice for my life. And he's like, I don't want to make the same mistakes you guys did, but I do want to make my own mistakes. And and I'm thinking, oh wow, by being supportive and being there for him, we're also giving him this guilt trip that he has to follow it.
I think that's awesome. And a lot of times people just get into a situation where they don't see their way out,
Yeah.
and it results in a feeling of hopelessness. And this, I think they can start to give up a bit on some of the drive and initiative that they've had in their life. And so this can be life changing to have this type of almost an anonymous coach that they can reach out to and get some positive advice and input and confidence building when they need it.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
very
And
powerful. And so if you're an employer and thinking about the productivity of your team, I mean, that's kind of the selfish approach, but the better approach is the welfare of all of your employees. This is a
yeah,
great tool to be sharing. Yeah.
absolutely. I would 100% agree. And even on the like feeling hopelessness or trapped, sometimes that's like we don't know how to deal with a team member, we don't know how to deal with a manager, or we don't know how to deal with circumstance, a circum a certain circumstance. And so we could, we could easily gossip about it, but with our employers who have Resilience Pro, they can call a coach and gossip to the coach and get real advice back, get real feedback or communication skills that can penetrate the challenges they're dealing with. Because as employees, that's when we cause problems through communication, it's not necessarily because we're meaning to. We want to just get it out of our system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Anyway, okay, well, that's what I wanted to talk about on today's Q&A in case nobody wanted to, and in case we had nobody join. But did anybody put in any questions and answers
Well,
before
there's
this meeting?
actually um, a couple of the strategic partners asked the same question this week. And that
Oh,
is,
that's interesting.
yeah, so it's a good one, obviously. So, and the question is, what resources do they have that they can be using, like um, brochures, flyers, websites, that type of thing, that can help them get our message out and help them make referrals. And so, obviously, our websites are great. Um, we have, I think we have a flyer that our marketing team is going to be producing, but meanwhile, we have a temporary one. But what other suggestions do you have, Tommy, that would be the best tools to share with our strategic partners that they can be using?
Yes, so thank you for everybody as you're patient with us as we rebrand and remarket. But if you go to orient.com, go about three-fourths of the way down the website, there are 8 cards, and all 8 cards are our services that we provide. Of course, Premier Alignment's on there as one of the cards. Resilience Pro that we just talked about is on there as one of the cards. And then I will be working with the marketing director to get a one-sheeter out on all of our services, just so that you have them, so that if you hear a pain point of one of the services and you're like, hey, this is a good way to introduce them to Premier Alignment. As a consulting company, we can start wherever the CEO is ready to start. If they're not ready to start with a full-fledged consulting, but they're wanting to go with one of our other services, whether it's bio screening or whether it's Resilience Pro or some of the other services that we handle, white glove, we can screen for that, make sure they're a good fit, and get them taken care of. So I think we've worked really hard on those cards. And so I think those are really important that once again, Orient.com, about three-fourths of the way down the website, and you can click on the card and it will give you a small description of each one of our services. And then, yes, for Premier Alignment Consulting, we have a temporary flyer. We're working on a more permanent flyer. And I've got a meeting with our marketing team on Monday. So I will talk to her about what are the one-sheeters that we have in our back pocket that you can get out to your SPs. Since this was one of the questions, then I definitely would tag some of the highlights of this particular meeting and include resiliencepro.com as website when you send out everybody the information on this meeting. And then that website has a lot of great information.
Yep, I'll sure do that. And then maybe in the coming weeks, we can do a little bit of a deep dive in each one of those cards on the Orient.com website
Yeah.
so
So
that,
I would,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, so our partners can learn a little bit more about what Orient offers, and because each of those cards can be a hook, depending on what a CEO's needs are or whatever. There's lots of different opportunities we have to help them, and so that would be good to spend a little time, I think, in the coming weeks on those.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. And I think that that's a no-brainer. I would like probably next week to talk about direct primary care and the particular direct primary care that we work with in conjunction with our health coaches, so that people can understand the benefits of that with their smaller CEOs.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later, Bob.
Okay, have a great weekend. Bye bye.
You too. Bye-bye.